Hello, my name is Stephen Schaub, and I'm the leader of the Viva la Revolution 2.0 here on YouTube, 1-2, and today we're going to talk about agitation techniques. I realized yesterday in my post where I'm talking about alternative thoughts on exposure, we talked about William Morrison, we talked about the idea of exposing for the highlights and processing your film for your shadows. We talked about using very dilute developers, which I will get more into in the coming weeks. And we talked about stand development, which I'm not going to get into today. I'm going to talk about my regular, normal agitation technique that I have used now for 30 plus years. And by the way, if you're watching this and you go, hey, he's doing the same technique that I do, good job, you're doing the best technique. And here's why I think it's the best technique. Most people make the mistake when agitating film of agitating for too hard, for too long, and too frequently. That's the problem. Too much agitation can increase contrast, it can increase grain, it increases density. If you're agitating like you're shaking a martini, you're most likely going to have surge marks, all sorts of issues. So there's a nice balance of agitation that we're looking for. So here's the way that I do it. I've got my stainless steel tank, my imaginary roll of amazing film is in there. I've got my developer, I've already done my pre-wet, so I dump the developer in, put a little plastic lid on, I tap it 2 or 3 times, really quick, just to make sure there's no air bubble sitting on the film. And then I do 2 inversions with a twist every 5 seconds for the first 30 seconds. And I have a clock on the wall that I'm watching, so I'm timing myself to that clock. But it would look something like this. Twist, back, twist, back. That's 5 seconds, that's 2 inversions. You see how smooth it is? You see how gentle it is? It's not crazy. That's going to give you a beautiful negative. So you do 2 inversions every 5 seconds for the first 30 seconds. At the end of that 30 seconds, tap your tank again, just to make sure there's no air bubbles on it, and then let the film sit for 60 seconds. At the end of 60 seconds, you're going to then do 4 inversions. 4 inversions takes how long? 10 seconds. So you're doing, once again, 2 inversions per 5 seconds. So at the end of that minute, for the next 10 seconds, I'm going to do my 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I tap it again and let it sit for another minute. And I do that for the entire rest of the process. So it is, in a nutshell, 2 inversions every 5 seconds. You do the first 30, and then it's 10 seconds every minute, which would equal 4 inversions every minute. The reason we sort of have this longer period of time, most people talk about agitating every 30 seconds. What I'm looking for is the highlights to be controlled, so minimal agitation is helping there. And by allowing the film to sit, the developer is acting primarily on the shadow regions, the shadow and low tone regions. It's developing those. The highlights exhaust off and are sort of protected through the development process. So I'm allowing those shadows to come up. It's very similar to what you do in the stand development. You're really wanting those low tones and low mid-range tones to sort of develop up. But if you agitate too much, you risk pushing the highlight values way off. So that's the way that I agitate for 99% of my film. However, I know you're thinking, Steve, do you ever vary from this? Of course I do. If I've got a really contrasty scene that I know that I shot, I may cut my agitations back to the first 30 stays the same. I always do the first initial 30 seconds. I want to make sure the film has got an adequate developer, the developer's moved around, it's everywhere on the film that I want. What I would do though, if I was really worried about the contrast, is I would cut my agitation from 4 inversions in 10 seconds to 2 inversions in 10 seconds. So an inversion that lasts 5 seconds would look something like this. That's 5 seconds, it's 1 inversion. I would do 2 of those in 10 seconds. But that's only in special case scenarios where I know, I'm photographing someone on a beach and they're backlit and it's bright sun and they're wearing a dark outfit. That's where I would use that for. Normally, for 90% of everything else, I do the other agitation technique. Now, for the remainder of the process, stop, fix, clear, all of that, I do a standard agitation. I'm doing like 3 to 4 inversions every 5 seconds. But I'm not doing this. I'm not going crazy. I'm doing 3 or 4 inversions every 5 seconds. It's more than what I do for my developer, but it's the amount that's normally recommended by the manufacturers. So if you've never tried this agitation technique, try it. I think you'll find that your negatives are just that much better. Thank you very much for listening. Have a great day, and go shoot some film.